feedback. Hold on. I've never had that happen. Oh, because I'm on my phone. That's why. For all day and half an hour before the show. All right. Now we should be good. Can you hear me okay, Randy? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I apologize, guys. This was very unprofessional. I never had this happen, but I always say with live streaming, it's if not something's going to go wrong, it's when and what it is. Okay. So I hear a lot of rattling around, Randy. Is that something going on back there?
Yeah, just my head.
Okay. Well, at least we have some comment. At least you haven't lost your sense of humor. All right, guys. Let me open my little Google Docs here sheet, and we shall get started. I apologize for the delay. I appreciate you guys all waiting for me to get my act together, so to speak. Here, I call it Crapcast. I guess they heard me talk barely about it because I was watching some live streams of sporting shows today on YouTube, and they are having all kind of problems. I must have jinxed myself. I give myself problems for myself. So, okay. So let's reboot. In today's live stream video, we're going to discuss how to take your eBay store to the next level with my guest. He'll share his tips and strategies to help make us more successful and profitable resellers. Every Wednesday, I have a live stream, and I usually interview another reseller and have them share their tips, tricks, and techniques to help make us more knowledgeable and profitable resellers. So if you're interested in reselling, then you are in the right place. Already said hello to people. I apologize if I didn't say hello to you. We will join the show. Again, we had a little snafu with the internet. But anyway, as you can see, my guest today is Randy Fasig. We have Randy on. Randy, why don't you introduce yourself to the people in the chat that don't know you?
Hey, I'm Randy. If you don't know me, that's who I am.
Well, tell them a little bit about you had all kind of businesses, and you have a wholesale business. You sell on multiple platforms. Why don't you talk to people a little bit about how your e-commerce and your wholesale and your business?
Pretty much that's what I've done. No, I started out about 50 some years ago with basically starting the whole flavored coffee movement. We had about 100 employees and roasted. We had 13 retail stores and roasted a million or so pounds of coffee a year. We supplied most of the supermarkets from New York to Virginia, with only a few that we didn't sell to. And then we started to move online. I've sold on a lot of platforms. Let's put it this way. I've listed on a lot of platforms. There's a lot of platforms where you can list things on there, but you really won't sell anything. Because they do not have an audience.
Right.
So there's only a few majors that work, and some are really according to your personality, whether you're an Etsy seller, which is kind of a crafty place, or whether you're a clothing seller and you like the whole social aspect. Then there's Poshmark. And if you're basically a teenager, then there's Macari. If you're a thrifter, there's eBay, and really not much else. There's Walmart, there's Amazon. Those are the three big ones: eBay, Walmart, and Amazon. Alibaba is trying to move into this area. Alibaba is actually a little bit larger than Amazon, but most people in this country don't really know it unless it's a place to source from.
Right.
But anyway, that's pretty much what I'm about. I've had good times. I've had bad times. And I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen Amazon fail at the auction business and then decide to take their site down, which most people don't realize. I was around when eBay went around the country trying to get people to list on their site. In fact, I have the eBay World Tour shirt from back then.
You go back to when they had money orders and people sent you checks in the mail and everything was at auction. And
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when you could actually add music to your listings. There was all kind of things that were good that are no longer available, but there are a lot of things now that are a lot better than they used to be. and it's easy to remember the bad things, but they've come a long way, and I'm going to have a just one little page where I ask someone from eBay for Business, which I'm a big fan of. I think that was one of eBay's strong points.
I agree.
But I'm going to show you what happens when you spend all day listening to eBay sellers that all they want to do is bitch and complain.
I hear you. Okay. Do you want to post your sheet up there? You just want to start in order? Or how do you want to do it as far as
Oh, let me
the
see how
topics?
it works. I'm not too good at this, so
Well, at least you had internet. I don't know how I can have internet for all day. Literally, I've been on the internet off and on since 8 o'clock this morning, and then I was on for 45 minutes before the show. Everything was all set up, good to go. It's like all of a sudden I go to have Randy, and it's like, oh, I don't have internet. I have no internet. I don't have Wi-Fi. I don't have hardwire. Nothing. So anyway, so I apologize, guys. We're just going to have to edit the video, the first 15 minutes of it out. So okay, we do have your screen here. So we'll add that.
well, pretty much this is a syllabus about what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, there we go. Okay, very good. Okay, so let me look up my notes here. It's easier for me to read on my notes. Are a little bit bigger here. How to build an online store foundation. That is the title of what Randy's going to talk about today. Like Randy said earlier, he's got a lot of experience on multiple platforms. He's also done wholesale business. He sold to grocery stores. He's got a very large online presence. He has his own website as well, which I always mention during the show if you're familiar with Fasigs.com. So Randy will start. And the first, what do you call these corner stores? What do you call these points?
Well, actually, we're going to talk about the first thing you do when you build a store.
Okay.
Okay. And this really does not matter if you're building a store from scratch. Okay.
It looks like we lost our notes here. Okay, I'll just go back to you.
Well, that's because I took them down.
Oh, you took them down. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. In the brick and mortar world, or you're building an online store, you really have to look at it the same. Okay. When people are coming into your store online, okay, it's the same thing as going into a retail store. All right. So there are stores that are like Wegmans. I'll talk a lot about my area of expertise.
Let me just interrupt you for 1 second. For people that don't know, Wegmans is a regional supermarket chain that's based in New York. So they're down. How far south do they go now? Probably into Virginia, I guess.
Yeah, they're into Virginia.
Okay, so they're basically from the in Mass as well, too, right?
Yeah.
Or just New York down.
No, they're going north too.
They go north too. Okay, so they're a very, very high-end grocery store with a lot of private label, a lot of prepared foods, a lot of cut vegetables. They cater typically to the middle to the upper class, but they do crazy business. Very clean stores, very helpful people that work there. So anyway, I just want to tell people that didn't know what Wegmans were because they're more of a regional chain. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Wegmans. To give you an example, the average Wegmans, when it opens up the first week, does $5 million in sales.
Ooh, okay. Holy cow.
Okay, and that's just opening the first week.
Right.
But their stores are highly profitable. Pretty much they're copied by virtually everybody in the industry. So they're the ones who set the standard. And that's kind of what you have to decide. Are you going to be the one to set the standard? Okay. Or are you going to be the follower?
It's the old saying, and you folks, people that are regulars to my channel know I'm big about old sayings, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. So that's kind of like with Wegmans. You walk in, it's like, wow, this store is really beautiful. But then I look at the price of the cut vegetables, like this, I shouldn't be here. But $13 a pound for cut celery and peppers, but whatever. But anyway, they're beautiful stores, and they do tremendous business.
Yeah, Asian rice goes for $12 a pound cooked.
Right.
It's about 4 times
And,
this,
yeah,
the
don't you love
price.
it? They used to have a lot of, like, before the pandemic. They used to have a lot of self-serve things, and I would watch people going to the buffet, and it would be like $10 a pound, $12 a pound, and they're getting rice and noodles. It's like, you're paying $12 a pound for rice and noodles?
Yeah,
Not this
Wegman.
guy. I'm frugal. I'm a thrifter.
I'll tell you, Wegmans is a great store, and they're great people to deal with.
Yeah, I hear the nice people. Yeah,
Uh, I can't say enough good about them. You know, plus
She'll
I,
shop there. She likes their cheese and the wine. So they have a tremendous cheese section. Like, I can't really eat cheese anymore, but that's another story. They have a beautiful cheese section.
so whenever you build something, you need a foundation. All right. If you build a house, you need a foundation. Unless you build it in some areas of Florida, and then you kind of see what happens.
Yeah, you need like some cement foundation, like a strong base, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and primarily, the next thing you need to do is count the cost. Now, what is the cost? Well, the cost is how much time is it going to take up? How's it going to affect my family? How's it going to affect me? There's many things in counting the cost. Am I going to be able to make money? Am I going to basically be working for minimum wage or even less?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? Especially now with minimum wages, like, well, typically around $15 an hour now around here anyway. Not by
Yeah,
you. So,
I mean, the average pay up here is about $23 an hour,
yeah. Hmm.
you know, and that's the average pay I have to pay.
Sure, sure.
So, the days of paying $5, $6 an hour are gone,
Well, yeah.
you know. Uh, I mean, I talked to you, Adam, about, 3 weeks ago, I used to get deliveries of coffee for $1,600.
Yeah,
My
I know.
last bill was 3,700 for the same
And,
amount.
right. Well, obviously, that cost eventually gets passed along to the consumer. That's dope.
You know,
Because you're not in business to lose money.
no, no. I mean, if you want to have a hobby, well, that's nice. But I think most of you really want a business. I mean, I see that most people in the chat are experienced. They're not brand new sellers, but even sometimes an experienced seller has to go back to the foundation of what they've done and basically look at it again. Now,
Absolutely.
I disagree with eBay when they only want to give you one store for the simple reason, most people probably don't realize that the average supermarket has 4 major vendors. Okay,
Yeah,
like
before I knew you, I worked part time in Acme Markets, which is sort of regional chains. But I worked there, and I worked in retail and wholesale business for 30 plus years. I didn't realize there were so few, major wholesale suppliers to
yeah, I
supermarkets.
mean there's Kraft Reynolds, there's Unilever, there's Procter and
Procter and
Gamble.
Gamble, yeah.
You know, those are the big guys.
What's the General
Okay,
Foods? Is that who are
yeah,
they owned by?
General Foods.
Right.
Okay, those 4 companies have probably 80% of the grocery line. So, the people who make Pampers are the same people roasting Folgers coffee, the same people making Dawn dish detergent.
Right.
So, you know, they can manipulate things. In fact, I'll give you a clue. When a company called Millstone Coffee was bought out by Procter and Gamble, they paid Acme Markets $5 million for the space that I had.
Yeah, Randy explained that to me, and that was one of the. I tell you, Randy is a sharp business person. Randy, you want to share that story about when you were in the not the twine business? What do you call that? The rope
The
business.
rope business.
The rope business. Why don't you explain to that how they have to pay for sliding fees, and then eventually they have to buy everything out? And why don't you explain a little bit to the people that aren't familiar with that kind of business?
Well, I'll give you a hint. I went to a major supermarket. Okay, They have 8,000 stores. And I asked my buyer, what is the current cost of getting one bottle, one SKU of water in the store? And the answer was, in one single SKU, a little 16-ounce bottle of water, at that point was, I think it was $25,000.
Is that for one
No,
face?
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It wasn't. It was a lot more than that. It was $60,000.
Wow.
And that's only for a 6-month guarantee. And then you're required to run ads. Okay. You're required basically to stock the shelves. And that doesn't guarantee you that you will stay in the store after that. So basically, if you want to put in, let's say, 6 different bottles of flavored water, it's going to cost you $1 million to do
Oof.
that.
And like you have coffees, and you said you were on the ground floor of the flavored coffee business. Basically, you'd be an extremely rich man if you had were able to patent that, I guess, right back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
So I
we
mean, you're going to have like multiple faces. You have regular, you have decaf, you have like maybe hazelnut regular, hazelnut decaf, French vanilla regular, French vanilla decaf. So you've got a ton of SKUs.
sure. I mean, we had a whole complete 4-foot section all the way up and down in a lot of stores. But those stores were generating sometimes $25,000 to $50,000 a week.
Just for your business, right?
Correct.
In sales, right?
Correct. We were only beat out by one company as far as volume that we did in the store, and that company was Procter and Gamble. It was Folgers.
600-pound gorilla, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the fact
The
that,
reason we got a little sidetracked that, but we're talking about Wegmans and how you only get one chance to make a first impression, and that's like with your e-commerce store. When people come, Randy's obviously going to get into that; he's the expert. But when people come and look at your store, the first impression is lasting. So if you have terrible pictures, or you have terrible titles, or you don't really have a description, or Randy was kind enough to let me come up to his home and see his business Monday, and we were looking at some listings on the computer. And we're looking at some things that he sells as well. And one of the listings, it said it had a price. I think it was like $6.99, Randy. And for this particular spice, we're like, okay, is that 2 ounces, 4 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces? Nowhere, anywhere in the listing did it say what size the product was. How can somebody like that do business? And that's common, apparently. You're telling me you see that a lot of different things.
yeah. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple of examples later on.
Okay, great.
So yeah,
again, you only get one chance to make a first impression.
We went to eat, and Adam noticed that the place we went to eat at had no signage inside of who they were. So they really made a poor impression as far as when you remember a place, there are certain feelings that you get. Okay. That's why some people think certain music is eerie and certain music creates certain emotions. Well, there are only emotions that have developed over, let's say you're watching a horror movie. Well, there's a certain kind of music playing in the
Yeah,
background.
like a horror movie genre, theme
Sure.
music. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people do not like classical music, but they loved it when they watched cartoons.
Right.
Because cartoons was virtually all classical music.
Right.
Anyway, I want to start to show you some of these things.
Sure.
Let's see if I can figure out how to do it.
Okay. Bear with us here, guys. At least Randy had internet. Again, guys, I'm just going to have to edit the beginning of the video. I appreciate all of you, those of you who were here earlier and were able to hang with me. I don't understand why I didn't have internet. I mean, obviously everybody else had internet, and I had internet all day. And when I went to go live, I didn't have any internet. Randy's going to share a screen and show us some things we're going to talk about. As soon as we get it up, I'll post it up on the screen. You guys will start discussing it. So yeah, Michelle was talking about Wegmans, what a beautiful store it is, and she's glad it's not close to her house because she spent a lot of money there.
Okay, did a picture come up?
Not yet.
Well,
StreamYard is known for ease of use, but for some reason, the share screen option doesn't work great all the time. Try it again. So Randy was saying you have to build a strong foundation, like on anything, like you're building a home or you're building a business, you want to start with a strong foundation.
all right. Well, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can do this, but I'll still talk through it.
Okay.
Because it's really giving me a pain in the neck.
Okay. It's not coming up. Okay.
Okay. Let me see if I can pick my photos up.
Okay.
Oops. Okay.
So the first was building the foundation, and you said you're going to talk about counting the cost now. Is that our first topic?
Well, I want to, because we kind of went through with, what is your plan? What kind of store are you going to open up? What are you going to source?
What kind of products, right?
I
And
mean,
obviously, like I said all the time, you got to constantly adapt. And when I first got into business, I mean, you people have heard it. I'm not going to waste your time talking about women's jeans, but that's what I started selling because I watched all these YouTubers. Oh, women's jeans are $1 a piece, and they sell quickly. Blah 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 blah. And then I got a lot of women's jeans that aren't selling. I got the wrong styles. They say like anything else, it comes back in fashion, but eventually you have to adapt. And I prefer selling hard goods. So I was telling Randy I prefer get more into hard goods. I will sell clothing, but I want to sell more hard goods. To me, it's just easier to take pictures, easier to list. But so anyway, so you have to adapt and you have to change. But whatever you start out with, so you decide what you're going to start out with. And like anyone, most experienced sellers in the chat. But one of the things is to sell things around your house first. I do have your share screen now.
okay.
Okay.
This comes to the thing where it's tools. One of the things you have to have is tools. Okay. I showed Adam some tools that I made pretty cheap. I found a selfie light for $1.25 at the $1.25 store.
It's like $25 at Amazon.
and I'm using that now. So that was $1.25 well spent. A lot of other things I bought there to make things easier. But the reason I have the kid with the snowball is, wintertime's coming. Okay. So the first tool is a glove. All right. So are you going to shovel the driveway with a glove? And how long is it going to take you? Okay. I don't know if the next picture came up, but the next picture was shoveling the snow with a shovel. A little bit more efficient than a glove.
Right. Or your bare hands. The gloves are better than bare hands, and the shovel is better than gloves. Right.
Okay. And the next, obviously, taking it to the next level is a snow blower. A whole lot more efficient. A little bit more expensive, but nonetheless, a whole lot more efficient.
Right.
It's all a matter of time and money.
Right.
Okay. You don't have to get the most expensive stuff. I have professional lights and I have them in the basement of my home and I don't use them. I use a regular fluorescent shop light to take my photos. I use, what is that? Photo room?
Photo room, yes.
To take the white background out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a good photo there. Oh, I know what's happening. Some of these are the original photos. Okay. Now, I went into eBay because, one of the things you also have to find out is how does the platform want you to present yourself? Okay. So I talking to tools, I went into selling tools. And the one thing that I was looking for was what are the parameters that eBay wants in their photos? Because I feel pretty much the photos are what sells your product. I'm amazed at, I'm going to show you a picture down there. And I asked my daughter what she thought that was, and I'm going to tell you, but it's R-rated.
Uh-oh.
Okay, but it said, see my store, subscriptions. You look all down this line, and it tells you absolutely nothing. Okay, of how they really want you to build a store. All right. Now, if you come into my store and you want to put a little kiosk in, for instance, in most stores, uh, major department stores, you have little Starbucks kiosks.
Right.
Okay. There's a certain way that each store wants those, and each one is different.
So Target Starbucks is a little bit different than, I don't know where else. I guess the high end, like
like a giant like a supermarket.
supermarket, as
Starbucks.
opposed to like a Target or to like a high end retail store, department store, like a Lord and Taylor or something.
Yeah, and that's the same way it is when you're selling on Poshmark. The perimeters are different.
Correct.
Even when you're, presenting things on social media, all the parameters are different. Okay. And if they want you to have things a certain way and you do not have things a certain way, it's really going to affect your sales more than anything else. Now, eBay is very lax on certain rules that they make up, and we'll see that down the line. Okay, like, all right, I did a search, and I did a search for cloves, and it came up with 1,400 results. But look at what the first listing is. It's not even cloves.
I can't see what is the actual the item is.
It's actually allspice berries.
Allspice Jamaican berries. Okay.
Okay. So
well, obviously, if you're looking for cloves and allspice comes up, you're not going to be very happy.
No. And this is a good example of what I talked about privately about, how people get irritated when they go to one store, and look for something, and it's a store that supposedly specializes in it, and there's something else there. You don't go to buy a Mercedes-Benz at a Hyundai dealership.
Absolutely.
Now here's the second one, and this is the one we were talking about.
Right.
Let's see if I can make it a little bigger.
A little larger. Here. Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Now, Adam and I looked through this ad here. Okay. And all the next things are going to be about cloves because I wanted to have one thing. Can anybody see what's wrong with his ad according to the rules of eBay?
You put it in the chat if anyone is aware of what's wrong with this ad.
I mean, there's actually quite a few things wrong with it. Okay. Well, I'll tell you. What exactly are you buying? Are you buying an American flag? Well, obviously that's not in the title. Mm-hmm. But it says you're buying cloves. Are you buying this package of cloves? Are you buying this little pile of cloves over here? Your first picture should always be basically what you're selling with nothing else in it. And it should cover most of the space.
Right.
Okay.
And like this person says they're a U.S. seller, and like you and I are saying, well, it's probably not even a U.S. seller anyway. But that's
they really don't even look like they're a U.S. seller.
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't matter. Now here's a nice ad. I actually went through their store. Okay, they have relatively decent photos. You know what? You can really see what it is. It's really centered on what it is. You get to collect. Choose the size. There's a fair amount of there's a certain amount of information, okay, that is relative. Remember that old Janet Jackson song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" That's what people want to know when they want to buy something. What is it going to do for me?
Right. You and I were discussing that when I was visiting with you. It said it's not what you want to purvey, it's what the consumer wants. So you got to think what the consumer wants to see or to read.
So I mean, I look through this. All the guy sells is spices. All right. He has well, the only thing I found wrong with his ad was at the end, just to add extra pictures, they were all the same photograph.
Right.
Okay. But his site is clean. There's not a lot of nonsense. There's really the right amount of photos that are different photos.
The
Most of them are
picture looks
lifestyle.
pretty sharp. I mean, looks it's not,
Yeah,
blurred or pixelated.
this is actually professionally done.
Okay.
Okay. But you know what? You can get a pretty professional look even on your own
Right.
just by being consistent. Okay. You make a template that's consistent in size. And I mean, I recommend 1200 pixels by 1200 pixels.
Why don't you mention
Okay.
the software program that you're using? And you said it's just very reasonable. You can buy like an older edition too, and it still works fine for what we're doing.
Yeah. You know what? Corel Photo Paint.
Corel Photo Paint.
All right. And they have another one called Corel Photo something.
I
You
think it
can
says
pick it up.
Pro at the end or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Paint Shop Pro.
Right. By Corel. Right.
You can pick it up for about $20. Okay, but
Yeah,
let's
you
face
don't need the most current edition, and what's like I like about it is it's not a subscription based. I hate some subscription based services. This is you buy it once, you download it, and you're good to go. And it's ideal for like you said, you're keeping everything consistent. Tell people a little bit about what you said. You can like improve the pistils, you can increase them, you can make everything uniform. There's the size and shape of everything uniform.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. You take pictures, maybe one's a little crooked. You can fix that. I mean, simply fix it. This is not a program that you need to be a professional
Right.
photographer
It's not
for.
it's not like Photoshop, right?
Okay. I mean, I find Photoshop difficult
Yes.
because I haven't really worked with it, but it's a whole lot bigger learning curve.
And this is a $20 investment. So I mean, you take a
Yeah,
shot for
you can.
$20. It's not like you're investing $300, $400, $500 or $600 a year for the subscription.
Yeah, get version 16 or something.
Right.
You can probably get it for $15.
Well, like you were, the good analogy you made to me was like a wedding photographer, right? You were telling me, once you explain to people a little bit
Yeah, I
about
mean the
pictures.
average wedding photographer takes 900 to 1,000 pictures. Okay, then he basically gets rid of the junk. All right, and shows you maybe 200. Okay, and you say, "Wow, this guy's a really good photographer." Well, yeah, that's true, but you know what? He messes up. Uh, I I
Somebody
figure,
when you take a picture, somebody might be turning their head might be turned backwards, or
yeah,
somebody's scratching their head, or
or another part of their
or they got
body.
food on the front of their shirt, or yeah, right,
Little Jimmy's been picking his nose, and
right, right,
you know, Sally looks cross-eyed with her glasses. It's just you can take extra photos and just get rid of them. And
right.
you pick out, if you take 12 or 16, pick out 6 of the best. Now it's going to be more if you do clothing and less if you do like remote controls or whatever you want to do.
Like you
Uh,
said, what now they're allowing up to 24 pictures on an eBay listing. If you're selling a remote control, you're not even going to have 12, yet alone 24 pictures, right?
yeah, I only use
That's insane.
3
Yeah.
for remote controls.
Well, when I take remotes, I take the front, the back, and I take an inside picture of where the
The
batteries go,
batteries
so that it's
go.
not corroded. Yep.
I mean, maybe a close up of
So the buttons,
the code,
the code, right?
for what
Yeah. So you don't need
version it
12 or
is.
24 pictures for a remote control. And the thing is, I keep telling you, time is money. So you're going to make $3-4 on selling a remote. You're going to spend 15 minutes taking pictures of it. Doesn't make sense.
So anyway, I thought this was a pretty good photograph.
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing is you can see it in his sales. Cloves are not a highly saleable item.
Right.
You only use cloves like 1 or 2 times a year.
Right.
Okay. In fact, this is his store when you go into his store. I thought it was pretty sharp looking. It's clean. It's professional.
Right.
And it seems to me not to be too difficult to do something like that.
No.
Here's the one. Okay. I mean, to me, this looks like something my dog hacked up after he eats a lot of grass.
Okay.
Now, maybe you wouldn't notice it, but actually, this is an extremely poor quality clove. All right. The heads are missing from most of them. This is the stuff they grind up and make ground cloves with. They don't usually sell this as a whole clove item. And I only know that because I was a spice broker
Yeah,
back
that's your business. Yeah. Yeah.
in 1973.
Right.
Okay. This is the one I asked my daughter, what the heck do you think this thing is?
Looks like a shark on the right
Well,
there, like a shark.
yeah, she
Like a
told me
great white shark.
she told me she thought it looked like a tampon.
Oh my word.
I said it looks like an old pair of socks.
Okay.
Actually, but what it is, it's mortar and pestle.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but you know what? At first look,
that should predominate the screen though. It just the product should, not the mortar. The pet still shouldn't predominate.
yeah,
The
it's
product
pretty
should.
poor.
Right.
And you know what? His sales are really poor on
I would
this.
imagine. Yeah.
Uh,
It's true, Lisa. Pictures are the most difficult, one of the most difficult things. That and shipping, learning shipping. But that's like, again, I said it 3 or 4 times already. You only get one chance to make a first impression. So people come to your store, they see your pictures of the things that catch their attention, especially when they're on their phone and they're scrolling through listings. It's kind of like with a YouTube. If you have a good thumbnail, it kind of hopefully catches their attention. If you have a poor product picture as your main picture, people are probably just going to scroll right by it.
Now, here's another one I came up with. It said U.S. seller. All right. And if you actually zero in right there, it said made in China.
Okay.
And again, these are not really good quality cloves.
Right.
But that's a lot what you have. So eBay sometimes is tough selling a quality product, especially since most people don't know about the things that they buy. I mean,
Tommy says you go back to UPS and we had to spend so much time with pics. iPhone, he takes one take and done. Yeah, Tommy,
so,
I have I share some personal information, but I have a 7 Plus, and this thing has been limping through the finish line for the last year or two. So I'm gonna have to break down. I don't want to spend the money, but I got to get a new phone. And I went to the dark side and got an iPhone. 7 years ago it's been, because I was having so many problems with my Samsung and my Android phones. And I said, well, geez, this is really crazy pricey for these iPhones. Let me check out the Androids. And I looked at some Androids, and they were 3/4 of the price of the iPhone. So it is what it is. I mean, you're in a reselling business, or nowadays we don't even have a landline, so you need a cellular phone, and you need something to take pictures if you're in e-commerce. So it is what it is. So you got to spend the money. I'm sorry, Ray, I interrupted.
Yeah, so I mean, your pictures are probably the highest quality thing. Now, when I went and put in permits, I know that somebody else in the chat, I talked to them about it, and it seemed that they wanted to do a thing on permits, like, the things you have to do, like getting insurance and all those other things. And I don't like to talk about that anyway.
Yeah, like you get a business checking account and all that good stuff, and getting a tax certificate. Although you probably should get a tax certificate if you're going to do any kind of professional reselling, because most places will allow you not to pay sales tax if you're using it for resale.
Yeah, and the government likes you to have that.
True.
I think it's going to be rough for small independent companies in the future as far as selling online.
Right.
I see more and more companies really trying to push out smaller sellers. You can see that with eBay. There are certain things. That's the other thing that I don't know why it's not on my picture thing, but I asked eBay for business. I said, what are your guidelines for photographs? And the answer was, well, if you want to file a complaint, this is where to go to.
You're not filing a claim. You want to know what they recommend.
Well, that's what happens when you get people who call and bitch all day about, whatever problems they are. You start to think that everybody is calling about a problem.
I hear you. And then when I call, it's like, I don't have a problem typically when I call. It's like, I got to try to be nice. I always say, I'm not blaming you. It's not your fault. But there's always a but, right?
Yeah, a lot of these people, you know what? They're just employees.
Exactly.
Okay.
I would hate to
They,
be a customer service rep and do that all day long.
I mean, 8 hours a day, all you hear is people
People complaining.
complaining
Yep.
and blaming you because you are the face of the company to the person calling. So, I imagine it's not a job you want to stay out for a very long time.
I couldn't do it.
I remember a friend of mine from chock full of nuts, and she was the person that used to handle complaints. And she said, on the 28th day, I love this job.
All right. What's the punchline?
That was during her period.
Oh, okay. Okay.
When she's
I think
irritated
you're going there.
because, well, I figured I wouldn't have to explain that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a woman.
But,
I'm not married, so
well, I have two daughters and a wife, and
there you
you
go.
know, they sync up, and I'm in trouble.
There you go. Everyone's
At least
grumpy,
used to be.
right?
But you know, doing a quality job. You know what? Sometimes it's better to get all the crap off your website and say, you know what, uh, this is just tearing down the rest of what I'm selling. Maybe
True.
it's better to
The old
sell it
the
off.
old KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah. I mean, sell it to somebody who has a passion for it,
Exactly.
you know? Look at your group of people who you interact with and see if you can make some trades that are going to make your store a little bit more attractive. Think about what you sell, okay? If you walked into a store and they had what you have to sell in your store, what kind of feeling do you get? Do you feel like that's a store you want to go back to? Or do you feel like, well, it's a really crummy place? I walked into places where there was like a cat box full of crap already.
Yeah, it's funny when you like I said, I was in the wine and liquor business and then the grocery business for over 30 years. So when you walk into a store and all the cases are neatly cut and everything's nicely displayed, and other ones they got different boxes and they're just everything's all strewn, the shelf's half empty, nothing's pulled forward. It looks bad. It's like I said, the first impressions, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So when you first walk in that door, if it's all disorganized and clutter and boxes everywhere, you get a bad impression. So that's kind of when people come into your store, if they get a bad first impression, it leaves a negative feeling with them. They don't want to do business with you.
Believe me, grocery stores do resets about every 90 days, okay, to basically freshen up their store.
Right.
They spend millions upon millions of dollars in design of those stores.
Yeah,
Okay.
the ShopRite chain around me, they're remodeling all the stores. Every single store is getting remodeled. I mean,
They
that's got
have
to
to.
be tens of millions of dollars. Yeah.
You have to keep people excited about coming back to your store.
Right.
It's not just a matter of getting them there one time. Okay. They're a lot more attentive to your store than you actually think. Just like as soon as you ship an item, all right, the average person checks that 7 times, the tracking.
Yeah, you
Seven
told me that.
times.
Randy actually asked me that. He says, when you sell something on eBay, how often do you think people check their tracking? I said, I don't know, 2-3 times. He goes, no, 7 times they check for tracking. And that's the average consumer. Some might do more, some might do less, but 7 times. That to me, that's insane. But obviously, it's true.
Adam asked me a question. And the funny thing is, I didn't actually think of this until after he left, but he said, "Why don't you use a mouse? I see you use the trackpad on your laptop." And I thought about that, and I said, I really don't know. And then I thought, well, yeah, I guess I really do know, because when I had a stroke, my right hand was paralyzed and I couldn't use it. And the only thing I could hold was a tablet instead of a laptop. So after a while, I got used to using the trackpad
on a tablet, right?
on a tablet and on my laptop.
Right,
And now it's a whole lot easier
right,
because I still have difficulty with my right hand, even though I'm right-handed. So I use my left hand, and I've been using it so much that it just is natural.
right.
It flows that way. But there's a lot of things that we do that are natural, and there's a lot of things that we overlook. How many times do you really go over your whole store to try to make it a little better?
Right, improve your titles, improve your descriptions, and improve your pictures. Maybe some of you back in the day, you're rushing. Maybe you want to bang out 15 listings. So maybe 10 of those listings were good and 5 had bad pictures. So go back and, like you said, improve it. Maybe take new pictures, at least for the feature picture, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
I would say
Everybody,
I don't know what the numbers are. You probably would know because you're into the analytics, but I would guess that probably 75 to 80% of people only look at the first picture, or is it higher than that?
I would think it about 75% is right. You
Okay.
know what? If they don't like the first picture, they're going to
They're
pass
moving
over the
on. They're
ad.
moving on to
They're not
another
clicking
item.
on it.
Yep. Yep.
That one picture I showed you of the cloves that were really bad and looked like a dog peeked them up. That
Okay.
that guy had absolutely no sales. There was
Right.
no sales on that item at
Sure.
all.
Because he had a
Okay.
poor feature picture. Was
Yeah.
terrible.
He had two photos. Okay. One that he stole from somebody and one that he took. Okay. The photo was overexposed. So that also made it look kind of bad. It was out of focus. I mean, there were a lot of things that were wrong with it. Okay. So, the unfortunate thing is it was over 500 pixels, so it would blow up and even look worse.
If you watch Mike Flippin' Goodie's show, I mean, he talks about how he's kind of reorganizing the store and eliminating things and lighting things up and trying to improve it and try to, I guess, consolidate a store.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that, you know what, you can improve just by throwing them away.
That's true too.
I have items up there that I thought I didn't even know I even sold that anymore.
Well, one of the things you said earlier was like you don't understand why eBay doesn't have multiple stores. One thing I thought about that, and I should write things down. I tell you, I'm ADD, but anyway, I think it's important to have like different categories in your store too. It makes it easier if somebody comes in your store and, like I said, for your store, let's say, and they want to buy coffee. So if you have all your coffees grouped under one category, they say, "Oh, I want to buy the caramel macchiato, or whatever." So I wonder if he sells decaf hazelnut, and they're in that section already, and then maybe to get some additional sales from that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel, you know what, you want to go to somebody who knows what they're talking about. How many times did you have a question when you went into a store and the only answer you got was, I'll
Humana,
ask
humana,
somebody.
humana, humana. Yeah, yeah.
How many times do you call customer support and they'll say, well, we'll get back to you.
And they never
And
do.
and they send you a link to something that's totally
Totally irrelevant. Right,
different than
right,
what you were asking.
right.
You know, I mean, I've been dealing with some of the same issues on particular sites for over a year, and they're simple, but nobody's been able to answer them.
Right.
Okay, and it's really irritating.
But you said you like using the eBay for business, the Facebook, right?
I I think it's great. I think you at least get an answer. You
Yeah,
get an
it
answer.
seems like they're a lot more efficient than just contact. If you contact customer service, everything's rote. Everything's like, I am a robot. I do this. I do that according to a policy. They don't have any legal right per se. It's like, the customer's always right. I don't care about you. Blah 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 blah. But if Facebook, eBay for Business Facebook page seems like they're a little more helpful, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you get a U.S. seller. So you're speaking the same language. And I can tell you from dealing with people from all over the world, you know
Mike
what?
says he's got a question tonight. Wants to see closest of my GI Joe doll, eye color, hair color, etc. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's, their date.
GI Joe. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember
I got to be careful because I don't know if I was the best chat or somebody's chat. And
I
they said, "What would you
remember
do?" And I said, "I would just block them and move on." And they're like, "No, you don't do that." It's like, "Oh, well, that's what I would do." I don't. I'm
I
not saying
remember
I'm
this
always right.
guy, he had a blow up date. Yeah, he bit her in the neck. She farted and blew out the window.
All right, move on. Next. What's your next category you want to discuss?
Well, basically, I think, you got to choose saleable products.
That's important too.
If you have a bunch,
Craig, let me interrupt you 1 second. Craig, that's in the chat. Landshark Picker. He brought that up too, and I thought it was a great point. And I'm probably going to mess up what he said, but basically he said you have to have saleable, well priced, in demand products if you want to have a successful store.
yeah,
I mean, if you have the greatest price in the world and it doesn't sell, you're not going to sell it. Or if you have a great product but you have a terrible price, it's not going to sell. And like we're saying, it's very important that the first impression, because if people are scrolling, especially, like they say on YouTube, it's like 80% of the people watch YouTube on their mobile device, whether it be, a tablet or a smartphone. So same thing, I'm sure, with eBay. Probably 80 to 90% of people are shopping on their phones or their tablet. So if you have bad pictures, you're just scrolling right through it or moving on to the next seller.
sure. And I mean, you can see it just driving down the street when there's a billboard that has 90 words and you're traveling 60 miles an hour, and there's no way you're going to even attempt to read it.
Right.
A billboard should have 6 words, kind of like an eBay listing should have 6 pictures.
Right. Well, just as an aside, they talk about with YouTube thumbnails. You should only have it max 3 or 4 items on the screen and 2 or 3 words. You shouldn't overcomplicate it. Again, that's kind of sort of what you're talking about with e-commerce stores. The old KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. Keep it easy, and make it geared towards the consumer, not towards what you want to do. Don't overload them with information. And I know Tommy's big on analytics and things, and what does Google look for? And that's nothing you do research too, right, Randy? You try to find out, how do I
Oh yeah.
improve my SEO on Google on the products I'm selling? Search engine optimization.
I try to find things that I don't necessarily like and to see how well they're doing. And if I see they're doing well, I'm going to sell them anyway, even though I don't like them.
You got to
Because
put your hand. You got to put your hand down. Your screen's getting all blurry.
I'm sorry. At this point, I'm not the buyer. I'm
Right.
the seller. When did you ever see an ad where somebody says, "Hey, come to my store. We got all the crap you don't want."
Right. Yeah,
Now,
true.
maybe that'd work, just like the worst damn reselling show. Period.
Works for Mike. If you got people coming to his show. Although Mike's show is, guys, if you're not subscribed to Mike Flipping Goodies, he's got a great show on Sunday evenings. You learn a lot of resale talk, and always fun listening to Krillin, Bobby, and it's like some of the things that he says. It's like, okay. Mike always asks him, "Oh, Bobby, did you see my last video?" "Oh, I don't watch videos, Mike. I don't know." Yeah, of course. All right. Next.
And the last thing you need is customers.
You do need customers.
You
So
need to make
what
them.
platforms you sell on, and like I said, you want to gear it, make it towards that particular platform. Like I said, Amazon does things differently, Walmart does things differently, eBay does things differently, Poshmark does things differently. So you want to do it the way that particular website wants to do. You got to play by the rules.
I had a vendor way back in, I would say, like 79, where one of the people I was working with said, "Will you do me a favor? This is a guy who's just getting started. Give him some business." Okay. So I called him up. And the one thing was, after a while, I said, "You know what? I'm buying your product as a favor to somebody else. I don't need your product and I don't need you." And the simple reason was he made it very difficult for me to buy from him.
To do business with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes that happens to even an eBay store, an Amazon store, a Poshmark store. You make it very difficult for them to actually make the final decision. I read a lot of that stuff on the ads that I looked up, or the listings that I looked up. You know what? I could care less what the Latin name is for cloves. And I don't know that anybody else cares either. All right.
No, I know Linda has a question. I know Randy used an Android phone. Tommy seems to be very skilled with using an iPhone. That's one of the reasons I'm upgrading my iPhone. Of course, my 7 has terrible, low to medium light, takes terrible pictures. So I'm always editing things and sharpening things, and I'm using the eBay editing tools. And I'm going to buy that program, like you said. I'm going to buy an older version, the Corel, and use that. I mean, for $15 or $20, to me, it's worth the investment.
Yeah, if you can, I mean, look at that one store that I showed you that sold the cloves.
Right.
Okay, and its primary product were spices. It was nice, it was clean, it was inviting. Okay, it wasn't stacked up with a bunch of nonsense claims, which are really not acceptable anymore
Right.
on any website. And it really means nothing virtually to no one.
I'm going to put myself on full screen here. I'm going to try to help Linda out a little bit. Tommy made this comment. When I went to, let me pull Tommy's comment off the screen for a second. When I had this problem with my iPhone 7 Plus, they told me to get this too. So you can, I don't know if you can see this little black icon over here. That's what Tommy's talking about, the Pro Cam. That's what Apple recommended as one of the apps I should get for my iPhone to take pictures. Tommy says he never edits. But like I said, Tommy, I think Apple got to the point where they're just making their cameras better and better and better. And I think a lot of people that had the 8 and the 9s and upwards, they took a lot better pictures in low light. Every time they talk about the newer cameras coming out on iPhones, it takes great low light pictures. It's like, well, why don't the original ones take great low light pictures? But they didn't. So, and I have soft boxes here, and I have a soft spot over top. Then I have a little like LED light, like on a stand that Lonnie Garage Flip recommended. So I have one of those over top of it. And I still got to edit my pictures because the iPhone takes bad. My iPhone takes bad pictures. The later models don't take as bad as pictures. Thank you, Tommy. Tommy, Linda's going to check into that. Thanks for your help, Tommy.
A decent cell phone is really invaluable.
Yes.
I mean, I decided I need a new phone and I need a new camera, so I just got a new phone with a better camera.
Yeah, I got to think when I get this. Like I said, I hate spending the money, but it gets to the point now that my phone keeps dying, and people call me. I miss their calls, and it's like I miss their texts, and it's like, oh God, I'm just gonna have to break down and spend the money. So it is what it is, right? You get, like I said, it's part of doing business. You got to have a decent smartphone. And if it'll save me time, like you said, like Tommy says, he takes one picture and he's done. He doesn't edit his picture. So if you have a good camera and you take well lit photos, you take one picture, you move on, boom, 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 boom. That's time is money. He's saving time by not having to edit those pictures. That's great point, Tommy. Thank you for sharing that.
Do it right the first time.
Yes.
Do the prep work before you start the store, and it'll take a lot less time. I mean, my recommendation for anybody building a store, find items that you're passionate about. You know what? That death pile is items that you just don't give a crap about. Okay? And they're going to sit there for 2 or 3 years. All right? And they're making you absolutely nothing. Okay? I think with the radio tubes that Mike wanted to get rid of, right? I mean, that's classic. You don't want to take the time, get rid of them, and let somebody else have them. Maybe who does have, a passion for that item.
Right.
You know, get yourself some items that you can replenish. They don't have to be new, but get yourself a base that you can work with. And then you can add some other items to your store. You know, get your store working. All right. I mean, how many times do you go to a place and you go, "Oh, what's happening over there? There's a crowd of people. I have to go look." Well, you know what? If nobody's going to your store, it's no different online. If everybody's going to your store and you're selling tons of stuff, they want to know why and what they're missing out on.
True. Like when we were looking at some of the listings, and you're saying, look at all the sales this guy has made, and you look at his pictures, it's like, well, that makes sense. And you looked at a one guy has very few sales because he has terrible pictures and poor description.
I mean, I did a test on one item, okay, and you saw how much distance there is between my sister-in-law's warehouse and my warehouse.
Yeah,
It's the same
couple
place.
feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a product and she made a product. All right. Well, actually, I made the product for her. And we did a test for 5 years. I followed all of eBay's guidelines. She didn't. She sold 132 of those items a year. I sold 1,500.
Over 10 times. 10 times the
And
amount that she sold.
I priced mine higher.
And you were a higher price. Yeah.
So,
what were some of the things that you did differently as far as like what eBay recommended? Do you remember?
well, one of the things was I put it in the right category in my store.
Oh, she had it in the wrong category?
Hmm. I mean, there was quite a number of things
Okay.
that were wrong. I didn't tell her how to do it. I let her on her own. I just basically tried to follow the rules as much as I could possibly follow the rules. And
Right.
I mean, I thought I took better pictures.
That's extremely important. You probably had a better
Yeah.
description. You had it in the right category.
Uh, I had the brand first.
Yes. Yes.
You know, how you write your
That's how
title.
eBay wants your title. Why don't you explain that to people?
How you write your title is very important to picking up search engines for people when they're searching your store. Believe me, I'm the worst person. Okay. I hate category, whatever that crap is.
Item specifics.
Item specifics. That's what it is.
We've
I
all
hate
item
that.
specifics.
I think it's inane and stupid.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
changed it again the latest update, full update. So we'll have to see what changes they made.
But you know what? It works.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of things were stupid. I thought free shipping was stupid. Believe me, I get
Yeah,
thank you letters.
that's like the $64,000 question. Some people hate it, some people love it, some people want to use it for like £1 or less, first class. But
Actually, I'm getting rid of first class. Everything.
It was funny, guys. When I went to Randy's warehouse, the tour's warehouse, and as we were leaving, he showed me the shipments going out. Would you have probably like about a dozen bins that were going out to FedEx, and you literally had about 4 that were going out USPS.
2.
Oh, it was total 2. So 2 out of like 14.
Yeah.
Wow. So you shipped your business all over to FedEx, and the thing is now with like I said, with the ballots going out and the increased shipping for the holidays, the USPS is going to get even more bogged down.
Yeah, and plus they're making major changes in the fourth quarter, and that's not a smart move either.
No.
I mean, I think Louis DeJoy is a smart individual. I don't think he's a stupid guy. And his strong point is logistics. But he's getting into areas that he doesn't know about, and his basic attitude is, I don't care about the customer. I got 10 years to turn this around. and that's not a good way to do
No,
it.
that's bad attitude. Customer comes first. Yeah.
Is there any
And
questions?
they're losing a lot of business. Guys, if you have any questions for Randy, why don't you pop them in the chat, and I'll do a little housekeeping. Again, if you have any questions for how to improve your eBay store, your e-commerce store, pop them in the chat for Randy, and I'll discuss them, bring them up to Randy momentarily. Because I just want to do a little housekeeping. You know, I talk about my store all the time, my channel, and like I said, if you're enjoying the channel, getting value from it, please consider helping me offset some of the costs. We were talking about the costs involved in running a business. I would greatly appreciate it. I have to purchase equipment, pay for subscriptions, and like anything, there's time and effort involved. So I have Buy Me Coffee, PayPal, and Cash App. And my friend Randy here. I have Randy's website. I listed it twice actually in this particular video description. It's fasig.com, and there's a link for Randy's site. Randy sells delicious coffee, teas, spices, and old-fashioned candies. So Randy is kind enough to pay me a commission at no cost to you guys. If you purchase anything from him, just put AE next to your name when you register on Randy's website to make a purchase. Let's see here if there's any questions here. Tommy has a point here. It says UPS was $28 cheaper than USPS today. I do flat rate, so that adds up daily. Okay, same day, it's $75 plus. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the U.S. Post Office is declining rapidly.
yes.
I mean, 3 years ago, between my sister and I, we spent almost $400,000 in postage.
With the USPS.
Right. Today, I doubt we spend 10,000.
Wow. So you're doing like 1/40th of the business with the USPS that you used to.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, when you saw
I'm
it,
sure you're not the only one.
yeah, when you saw the lineup, it was only around noontime.
What? So by the end of the day, would it be even a lot more of the FedEx going out?
Oh yeah, because they pick up around 4 o'clock, so we had another
Okay.
4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
you do like 95% of your business with FedEx and UPS,
yeah, yeah.
and like only
You know,
5% with the post office.
it cost me more, but it actually cost me less.
Less headaches, less customer service, less problems.
You know what? Today people want their product fast.
Like you were saying earlier, people check their tracking 7 times. The average consumer checks 7 times their tracking for a shipment when they buy something online. That's insane.
You know, you're excited when you first buy your item and you can't wait to get it. If it comes a week and a half later, you're a little bit disappointed.
Tommy's making a point here. He says UPS and FedEx can adapt 10,000 times better to growth than USPS. And that seems like a fair statement.
Yeah, USPS has no planes.
Did they don't lease anything out anymore? No.
No,
Well, I know they eliminated air carrying for first class packages now.
Yeah, that was all through FedEx and UPS.
Oh, they delivered it through the air. Okay.
Right. What do you think UPS and FedEx were going to do during the holidays when they can barely keep up with their own business?
Right. True. They're going to concentrate on their business, just like you would concentrate on your business, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, folks. Are there any other questions for Randy? I'm going to post Tommy's comment here. UPS, FedEx, and DHL fly them for the USPS, right? I guess you don't really get involved because with DHL, right? But I guess they're more international. I mean, they do it in the States ship, but it's more international. I guess DHL.
I'm not really I've never taken a look and compared DHL.
Okay, I know it's a growing company, but yeah, I know it's big overseas. I mean, when I used to work and with liquor business and go on vacation things, I used to see DHL trucks all over over the Caribbean.
I mean, there's a lot of other carriers that most people aren't familiar with, like TNT.
I thought it was a television station.
Yeah, I needed to buy a part that I couldn't get in the United States. So at 11 o'clock at night, I called Istanbul, Turkey, to buy a product, and I actually had it in my hands the next day by noon.
That's insane. That's great. You never get that with USPS, right?
No, I doubt actually you'd get it even with FedEx or UPS.
Right, right.
But they're, one of those carriers that you generally do not hear about.
True, true. Okay, guys, I don't see any more questions for Randy, and I wanted to thank Randy. And I always say your time is your most valuable asset, so I'd like to thank Randy for his time, and thank those of you in the live stream and those of you watching the replay for your time. If you can do me a favor, make sure you hit the thumbs up before you leave, and if you're finding this content interesting, make sure to subscribe. And if you're kind enough, you can leave a comment. That helps grow my channel for me. So again, guys, we're going to have a live stream next Wednesday at 7 p.m. God willing, and the creek don't rise. Hopefully, we'll have internet service next Wednesday. Again,
Yeah, thanks everybody.
I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me and taking the time. So I had to reboot my router when we got started. So I'll just edit out the beginning of the show. We'll be good to go. So see you again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Bye now. We're still on, Randy. Of course, I'm having issues with this. Oh, my Lord. Bear with me here. Let's edit that out. Okay, I'm just leaving. I'll call you.
Okay.